You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Awake After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Awake After Show.
Bing is for doing, and we are here doing Awake, Season 1, Episode 5, entitled Oregon. I am your host, Anna Koppel. This is...
Kristen Carney.
Hey, Kristen.
Hey. Hey. Our AA meeting also doubling as.
That's true. We introduce ourselves here. So, we will be here every Thursday night at 11 p.m. to talk about Awake. If you don't happen to catch us live on AfterBuzzTV.com, you can download us on iTunes, find us on YouTube, and this is especially important because we're starting on Episode 5. We will be coming back to catch up on Episodes 1 through 4, so look out for that.
Yes, and as you guys are listening, as you guys may have noticed, whatever means you're listening to right now, you're getting it for free. And so these guys, I guarantee you, will do a fantastic job on each and every single episode. And so all they ask for in return, or what I asked for them, because they're a little humble, and they won't speak up in that regard, but you got to rate and comment them on iTunes. It really means a lot to us. We do listen to your guys' feedback, so again, it's all we ask for in return, and it really takes like 15 to 20 seconds. While these guys, it takes them 15 to 20 hours just to prep on the day of.
Just to read the comments.
Right.
That's right. So without further ado, I know everyone wants to talk about the episode. I'm equally excited. I've heard a lot about the show.
Yeah, I just want to throw in, I'm not humble about this. If you're going to rate the episode, I really want you to talk a lot about me in particular. I want you to rate highly.
So I'm quitting now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave.
No. I mean, you can mention Kristen because she is great, but anyway, I'm not that humble. That's sweet that Phil would talk about me that way, but it's not true. Anyway, also, we're sponsored by, or this is Maria Menounos' project, right? Is that right, Phil?
It is.
Yeah. So, and she is on Dancing with the Stars this season. So, you should vote for her every opportunity you get.
Because here's how it works. Basically, Maria puts in all of her money to do this.
Right.
And the longer Maria stays on Dancing with the Stars, the more we can keep spending her money without her knowing, and the more we can get cool things here at AfterBuzz TV, as these guys can attest to.
Right. So, and the longer it's free for all y'all, so...
Hopefully she does it long enough where, like, you guys could just buy me a car. Like, that's what I'm hoping. That's how long she's on Dancing with the Stars for.
I think, yeah. So, guys, please, if the wrap here is... vote for Maria, comment, mention that you love me, and buy Kristen a car.
Yes.
So I think the message will get across. Without further ado, let's talk about Awake.
Are you guys awake after that?
You guys awake? I'm awake.
I'm awake. It was a good episode.
I love that show. I really do. So tonight was entitled Oregon, and we're talking about Hannah, who is Britton's wife, moving to Oregon. So what are the implications of Hannah actually moving to Oregon? Because we know that Britton has this double life, a foot in two worlds, and a lot of that relies heavily on him being in the same, he lives in the same house, he is at the same precinct and works with the same people, and so what would it mean?
It would mean the writers have a huge job in front of them.
Well, besides that, what would it mean for Britton?
I think it would mean that his dreams are going to get even worse, because I think anytime anyone has any dream that is unsettling, they only seem to get more anxiety ridden, and they only seem to get more out of control. So I think if he is going to venture up to Oregon, I don't think he's going to actually get out of his dream state. He's going to get into a deeper nightmare.
Right, right. Britton doesn't, he is aware that one of these realities is not a reality, but he doesn't seem to care because he has both his wife and his son. So he doesn't want to let go of either of them. And I know towards the end, both of the therapists were suggesting, like, great, this is progress, this is growth. But I agree. I don't think that he will give up either reality.
No.
That it's just going to get more complicated. He's going to get more stressed out. I think in every episode, he seems to just be more of a wreck.
Yeah.
And just more exhausted. And because obviously he's never really getting good sleep, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I just think he's going to go downhill.
I definitely think he's going to go downhill, and I'm excited to see it because I think the show has really a lot of endless possibilities, being that he's in a dream state. And we all know from our own dreams that they can go crazy and they can go in this direction and that direction and not make any sense, but yet make so much sense. So if he goes up to Oregon, I am going to really just be so in awe of how they handle this logistically. Because how do you think it would work if he was in Oregon? Would it be he wakes up and he's in Oregon, and then all of a sudden the dream is maybe puts him that he's no longer in Oregon, but that he's perhaps back in LA and just dreams from... I can't even wrap my brain around how they're going to figure out that.
Well, I think the thing that's going to be the most complicated is he seems to get a lot of his tips, or not tips, but he seems to be able to solve a lot of his crimes from each dream gives him hints, clues, or each reality, whichever reality.
Right.
So that he can solve the crime in the other world. So I think that would be the biggest problem because obviously he's working in the same precinct. Would he even still be a police officer, a detective, up in Oregon?
Well, I think if my first thought would be to imagine that if he's in Oregon, I'm gonna saying that word over and over because I want to say Oregon, but I just don't want to sound like I'm from the East Coast. If he goes up to Oregon, I think that it might actually lend to more clues what's reality and what's not, because it's going to be so much more difficult for him to dream the way he had been dreaming.
Right.
So I feel like that would bring out more intuition that, wait, no, this isn't natural, or this isn't right. So I think eventually maybe there would be more of an answer if he was up there.
Right, but I think he doesn't want that. In the pilot...
No, he definitely doesn't, and that's a really good point that you brought up earlier before we came on air.
Right.
So if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, in the pilot, he had said to one of his therapists that if what was it? If keeping both of them, meaning his wife and his son, means that he has to sacrifice his sanity, he has no interest in making any progress.
Right. And why would you? When you
Right.
go through such a state of shock and trauma, the last thing you want to do is be without your loved ones. And I think that his motivation to stay in his dreams is harming no one, because
Right.
I mean, in a sense, whoever is alive, if it's the son or if it's the wife, he's not tending to them in the best way that he can, but in a way he's not harming anyone because he's like getting a chance to love everyone. And I guess I shouldn't even really say that. He is harming the person that's in the reality. He's not, like I said, he's not giving them that proper care and attention. But I just feel like it's so out of a place of good and not out of a place of selfishness, even though you could say that in the long run.
Well, I mean, I think it is exactly selfishness. I mean, it's self-preservation, and it's, I want to keep both of them.
Yeah, it definitely is selfish. I guess the way I'm trying to look at it is like it's an innocence, and it's an innocent selfish. He's not doing it in a way
be malicious to anybody.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it seems just more like he literally was keeping his family together.
Right.
And that's what he can do as a man who doesn't have any otherworldly like abilities, like
Right.
he can't do the wand like God normally does. Usually
Yeah,
God has the
right.
wand. Like,
Yeah.
he actually has a wand.
Yeah, I was actually just at Coffee Bean with God. We're talking about that
They
wand.
didn't make him pay because he just waved his wand.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I was like, can you give me a refill?
You're like, this
He's
is
like, I
supposed to
got
be-
it. Yeah.
This is supposed to be decaf.
Yeah. He's great. So great.
Good job, God.
Yeah. Thumbs up. There was something that Rex, by the way, was barely in this episode.
He was barely in the episode. I like the chemistry between husband and wife, though. I think there's maybe being an adult and not having children, that relating to the relationship aspect. They were talking about them going their own ways just because they've grown apart, and so I like watching the wife. But I know Rex has kind of been a little bit of the son who doesn't want to be involved with his dad, and that always just is like less interesting to me in a way. But
well, it's definitely less interesting to watch when you're like two of your main characters are not interacting. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's definitely like age appropriate.
Yeah.
He's 15, 16, somewhere in there. But the episode did open with the two of them sitting in traffic, and Rex said, looking up on his phone, SIG alert, whatever, and he said that the freeway looks worse. And Britton says, what could be worse than not moving? And what could be worse than not moving? And he said, well, maybe moving backward. And then it was interesting because the rest of the episode we're talking about moving.
Right.
But in a different sense.
Right. But do you think moving to Oregon would be a step backward? It would definitely be a step backward in terms of his progression into a healthy state of mind. So in a way,
Yeah.
they are definitely moving backwards if he ends up going.
Right.
And I think they will end up going because of the criminal who didn't have a name, I believe, going to...
The FBI agent who was the Gemini.
Gemini, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Him being in Portland is definitely going to add a lot more trauma to his already traumatizing situation. So I think he would, definitely go downhill quickly.
Let's talk about that really quickly.
Yeah.
So we know that Gemini is going to be in Oregon because at the very end of the episode, he calls Detective Britton and he says, 12 and a half years, nobody's been able to catch me. In 2 days, or in a week, we have 2 interactions. Speaking for myself, I'd be very disappointed if you woke up. Then in the background we hear Flight 402 to Oregon is boarding in 10 minutes or whatever. So that leads us to believe that what I got from that is that like he's in a dream state.
Yeah. Talking about the clue, what hints are we getting and what hints aren't we getting? I didn't originally look at that as a hint because I didn't know how to decode that. So it was almost like, so if he says, if Gemini says, I don't want you to wake up, it would clearly mean that that he's asleep, but that's too easy.
Right.
So I didn't want to interpret it necessarily that he was asleep because it's like, no, they can't be giving us that information quite yet.
Right.
So it has to be like, there has to be some like in between the lines meaning to that statement.
Right.
I guess being somewhat tired right now and then trying to decode all of this is like trying to do a math problem for me tonight.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, okay, if awake is asleep and asleep is awake, A plus B doesn't equal C anymore.
Right.
You're
perfect for this right now, actually.
Yeah.
You're actually in the perfect place to talk about this.
Caffeine is needed for an episode called Awake, actually, which is like hilarious. But
we'll give you Red Bull next time.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I mean, it's a great show. It's really, really entertaining. To focus on what is actually happening is so difficult because there's a lot going on within the episode. So you're not only trying to decode his dream, you're trying to go with him on a journey of solving a crime.
Right.
So there's like 2 layers of what your brain is calculating in the show.
It's a cool show because it's like
it's
part psychological, it's part crime, it's interpretation of dreams.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It is cool. And I think they need that element of crime to have interest held. Because if it was just a guy like mowing his lawn, he's like, am I awake or am I asleep?
Right.
Like, and then the blades of grass are like this long. He's like, I must be asleep. This must be a dream. You know, that would get boring.
Right.
So I think it's cool to put the two together. But I think, you know, again, being a little bit tired tonight and trying to follow it was a little bit difficult for me. So I'd like to watch it more often, feeling like really perky. But the other hints that we came across that you mentioned was the call from Hannah.
Right. That Britton called her several times while she was in Oregon, but she never answered, but she did call him.
Right. So how does that necessarily lend a clue?
It doesn't, but it is something to notice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's a clue. It's not like evidence.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's not a smoking gun.
Right. But, you know, a dead person doesn't answer their cell phone.
Right.
But a crazy person can imagine a phone call.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
So it's, you know, it's a clue. It's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
And I think also that with Gemini calling him and going to Oregon and saying, because he seemed to he was fascinated with Britain. He kept saying, you know, people like us, and the world needs people like us.
Yeah. To backtrack to Hannah for a second, the feeling that I got from listening to the phone ring and go to her answering machine, it did feel kind of ghostly in a way. It did feel empty. And not that just because someone's answering machine picks up, they're like dead.
Right. But I always think that though. I'm like the worst case scenario.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
My dad.
Yeah. So you
Dad.
sometimes you associate it with like fear. You know, you call somebody 5 times and you're like, all right, what the F is going on?
Right.
So when he called her maybe the first time, it was like, okay, there's an answering machine. When he called her 2, 3, 4 more times, I definitely, before she had called him back, was thinking like, ooh, that's not a good sign, because that reminds me of just someone who has been hurt or injured or like incapacitated or dead in some way, can't answer their phone.
Or leaving you, as his therapist in that reality suggested.
Right. But the two being left and someone passing away is almost the same thing in a sense.
It's a loss.
Right. So
it's a loss.
Yeah. So what the therapist was interpreting it as was the way someone who's sleeping could possibly interpret someone dying. You know, like, you know, if you are going through a breakup, if you are going through a divorce, you will have dreams possibly that the person died.
Right.
I know for me, to get a little bit personal, I'm not going to talk about my boyfriend, but my brother and I recently, which is very strange for us, we haven't really been speaking, and we kind of got into a little bit of a fight. And I had a dream a couple weeks ago, because it's been kind of going on for a while, and I had a dream that I was with my whole family, but my brother died. And so I think that was really symbolic of just what's going on right now, because he's not really in my life.
Right.
So in my dream, he was dead.
Right.
Even though I don't think it was like a premonition, he's not going to really die. But so you know, that interpretation was very logical within his therapist. You know, it was either him saying it or his therapist, because his therapist in his dream state is him.
Yeah. Right, it's just like a reflection of him and his subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say the therapist, played by Cherry Jones, I believe her name is, looks just like my therapist. She's like the quintessential like therapist, like peace lady who's like got it together, but you can tell very natural. And so I like her, and I could see him dreaming up someone like her because she's comforting looking.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily dream up like an Asian dude as a therapist, because he doesn't really lend the same feelings that you would get from a older woman who kind of almost
what kind of feelings does he lend?
A sad one. Sad. No, I love Asians. But no, the woman therapist is somebody who looks like a mother figure, and she's comforting. So if I were to dream up a therapist, that's what she would look like.
Sure.
You know, and Dr. Wong, I believe his name is.
Well, his name is B.D. Wong in real life.
Yeah, so Dr. Wong would be someone that is probably practicing, but he's not my first creation. My brain conjures up when I think of therapist. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's a clue or me just way over analyzing it.
Because she looks like your therapist.
Because she looks like my therapist. But
well, I think
Not that I need a therapist, by the way.
Yeah.
Phil.
Casting agents would disagree though, because like BD
Yeah.
Wong like has played a therapist or a social agent in everything
Yeah.
that I've known he's ever been in.
Yeah.
Law and Order SVU and Oz and
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I guess you suck at casting.
Well, I believe. Well, the thing is that I'll just say this really quick, and then we'll move on. But I believe that like people like him are therapists. But it's like, I guess what I'm saying is the comfort when you're dreaming. I think with being symbolic, things manifest in your feelings, and associations manifest into like people in your dreams, people you don't know.
Right.
But if you're looking for comfort, she looks comforting.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if he's dreaming, perhaps she's part of the dream because she's so cozy and he's trying to find some comfort. But that's, again, I think me completely overanalyzing.
Well, but that's okay. That's what we do here. That's how you see therapy, is like a comfort,
Right.
and that's where you go to like be comfortable. He might not see therapy
That's
that
true.
way.
That's true.
He might see it as an invasion.
Pain.
Yeah.
That way I do associate it with Asians. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I almost said like Asian invasion,
Yeah.
but you went there first, so it's okay. So yeah, I mean, he might have a completely different interpretation. He seems to really not be happy in those rooms sometimes, and
Yeah,
he
that's
feels
true.
defensive and challenged, and so yeah, I totally understand and agree with what you're saying. There are archetypes that one dreams of and show up again and again. So
Yeah.
I guess time will tell.
But good point, Anna. It's so true, because he's definitely not comfortable in therapy. Like, I go in because I'm like, I love talking about myself, like, and he's like, I don't want to be in here. And I'm like, we're already at an hour, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I am. But
I think maybe it's mandatory for him to be in therapy.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. Because he keeps saying, as soon as they don't make me do this anymore, I won't ever see you again.
Right.
So he definitely doesn't want to be in there. And he's a guy who is probably, I wonder, the character before the accident, they didn't show any of that,
No,
right?
it started with the accident.
Right. Because I would wonder if before the accident, if he maybe had problems like communicating, like maybe he had a lot of pent up, because I don't know. I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
I just wonder what he was
We
like
want to see the
before
prequel.
accident. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's safe to say he was like a type A cop.
Yeah.
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 So, why do you think? Because you mentioned that you like that he is a cop, and that's interesting. It would be boring to see him mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Do you think that choice was on purpose? Do you think they chose cop like right away, or
When they were writing the series?
yeah?
Probably. I feel like they probably went in the series as like, if Kevin or Kyle Killen, which is like, he created the show, which is like a badass name. Kyle
Yeah.
Killen. I believe that's his name. If he started out with just the dream idea, and then someone said you need another element,
Right.
I feel like they probably went straight for the crime, because you always have the audience left over from like CSI or NYPD Blue or something. So so I feel like, yeah, they definitely started him as a cop, and then someone like that is going to be a strong character but yet vulnerable because of the position he's in.
Right.
So it's not like we're watching like a meek person the whole time, like it would be like me. Like, just be like,
Oh.
eh.
I don't think
What do
I
you
like
think?
that.
Do you think?
I think, yeah, I definitely, I don't know if it was their first choice or not, but I think it's the only way to go about it. First of all, they were constantly calling him into question and like questioning his sanity and like,
Yeah.
should he really be on the streets? Like, should he be holding a gun?
Have they been doing that in each reality, the green and the red?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
Yes.
if they're calling into question his sanity, I feel like that would be more of a clue toward he's awake in that reality.
Right.
But
They've been doing it in both. Yeah. So, so I think that's great. And, like not trusting him, like giving him a new partner as like a babysitter and
Right.
all of those things. I think it really just lends a lot to the story and
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
I have been wondering if I should be picking up like clues or what from the specific crimes. Should that be?
Yeah, that crossed my mind as well.
it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it's part of Britain's story at
Yeah.
all. The only thing is that, like, he'll get hints from one reality that'll help him solve the crime in the other, like we've mentioned. But
Right.
it doesn't seem like they're in any way part of his story, which would be interesting to see if they were sort of more intertwined. But
Yeah, I think that's earlier when I said there's oh god, oh my god, I just literally completely lost my train of thought. When oh, I don't know.
all right, fair enough.
That's gonna happen 5 more times tonight.
Okay, that's okay. Well,
Wait, so say that. Bring up that point again. You really need caffeine or a Red Bull right now.
okay. I don't know that I can repeat it. I
feel
think
like
I lost
an
it
80-year-old
already.
woman. Yeah, I lost it.
Yeah.
Because I had something to follow up on that.
I was talking about. Can we get a playback?
Yeah, right.
I was talking about the the crimes themselves don't seem to have anything to do with Britain's story.
Oh,
It would
right,
be nice
right.
to-
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good point. Good memory. Good memory there. What was that again?
Yeah.
I thought that as well, and I think this is what I was going to refer to earlier. But when like I said, there's the two things going on in the episode.
Right.
Feel so disconnected.
Right.
That I think that's what I meant, like having a hard time just kind of staying focused on what's going on in both, because it's like you have a 2-lane highway in the show, and you're not really crossing lanes at all. It's like you're either in this lane or you're in this lane in terms of the dreams and the crime version of the show.
Right.
So, yeah, I feel like they're not related at all. But it would be cool if they were intertwined.
Right.
Because it would be like, because you almost feel proud of yourself when you notice something. And I feel like that would give you the opportunity to feel proud of yourself, because you'd be seeing more connections between the two. You'd be like, oh.
Well, and also the show would be more engaging, because I find that I get more hooked into one story or the other.
Right.
And then I'm just kind of like paying less attention when the other story comes on.
I will be completely honest, I'm much more interested in the dream part.
Right.
Than I am the crime stuff. The crime keeps me going,
Right.
Because you're like focusing on solving I think also what the crime does within the storyline is give you some sort of gratification or ending.
Yeah.
Because it
So
resolves
true.
itself.
That's so true.
Whereas the dream is never resolving.
Yeah.
So you would be, if the crime didn't resolve and the dream didn't resolve.
Yeah.
You'd
That's
be like,
such a good point. That's
Yeah.
such a good point.
Yeah.
I would get so frustrated with that show.
Right. So I think maybe that's another reason why they put that in there, because you have to have some satisfaction at the end of the episode.
Right.
Like they found the killer, but I think it was also good that they left the cliffhanger, because as we've seen in a lot of other shows, The River, Terra Nova. I love, yay, Phil smiled.
Hey. That was a show Kristen and I did.
Yes, it was. And what they did, I think, in those shows was really close up each episode. Phil might disagree, but I felt like they pretty much, like, each episode almost seemed like, in a sense, like a one-off, because the issue within that episode was always resolved by the end.
Right.
And then you never saw that same issue really overlapping into the following episode. It was like, one off. But there was an overall arc, you know, but it was like, those...
Just like The River.
Right. So with a show like Awake that we saw tonight, the killer being left within the ending of the episode to see him again is cool, because he's not gone. He's not, it's not like killer of the week.
Right.
He's going to hopefully be in Oregon
Right.
and cause a little havoc there, and we'll remember him and relate to him from the episode before. So you won't have to get used to someone new every time necessarily. I mean, most of the time you will see new people in the show, but yeah, I like that.
We have another storyline going on here now.
Yeah.
Good. It's good. All right.
Cool.
Any more to say on the episode?
We are stepping in at episode 5, and we are going to backtrack and go over the other episodes as well. But I think that this is a cool space. I think this is a cool show. I think it's the most original thing that I've heard of in a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think they can really do a lot of cool things with it. And the only thing is, I can see myself getting completely frustrated, not knowing eventually. Like, I need.
We're gonna have to stick with it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to stay.
I must
committed. All right. Well, I think we're gonna take a quick break, and when we
Well,
come back,
if I may interject,
please,
I've been
Phil.
as you guys are talking about the show, I've been looking up at the forums, and I don't know if this is a good theory on the show. I've never seen an episode, but it seems long, so therefore it's probably in depth. And so this is what one fan writes. He's commenting about last week's episode and his theory from that point earlier. So police captain's statement that they didn't have to kill off his entire family to unknown man on bench made it clear that both son and wife were killed in an accident and that the accident was no accident. Ooh. Let me know if I'm wrong, but the police captain has only been seen in the world where his wife exists. Is that a clue to anyone else? Also, in the wife world, police captain exists. Vega is his partner, in parentheses, who's really just there to keep tabs on him. His previous partner was reassigned, taken out of the picture, and his shrink is intent on making him believe that his dreams are only dreams. Whereas in the Sun world, Vega is a patrol officer unknown to Britain, and his shrink is more fascinated with the heightened abilities of his subconscious. So continues on. Here's my theory. I think that Britain is alive, not in a coma. I think the wife world is the real world, but wife world is a figment of his subconscious. Only the shrink and captain have mentioned his wife, and they both know what really happened and are allowing him to think his wife is alive. I think the Sun world is completely a figment of his subconscious, maybe memories from the past. That world has something to do with the past and the reason why his family was killed. That world is where the answers could be found. That sounds pretty deep.
I just got really confused.
Yeah, I did too. I was like,
so proud of myself until about 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, but this is why it's a good show. It has people talking. Everybody has different theories. That's it's what makes a good show.
Yeah,
so.
And you want to give your theory,
right?
Because I agree with some of what he said. Specifically, the therapist and the woman therapist, Dr. Evans, does want to talk about his dreams more. She seems more fascinated with that rather than the green reality or the red reality with Dr. Wong. I'm gonna get confused with that. Seems almost really resistant to the idea and almost like bullies him. And so I think personally, my guess is that the dream reality is the green reality, which is with the sun also. So I do agree with him on that.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But but then again, with the wife and the phone call and all that kind of stuff. We're just
gonna have to stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right. So, Phil, permission to go to break?
Commercial?
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about dreams, and we have some news and gossip. Stick around. We're gonna stick around.
AfterBuzz TV.
Hi, I was once like you. A lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
Well, welcome back. We're here buzzing about Awake, episode 5, entitled Oregon. And I thought we would talk about some dreams, some dream experiences. So, things that seem real, reality.
I have a really big dream thing to add in.
Yeah,
so.
Please, start us off.
Okay, well, I will. I had the most, I'll try to make this as concise as possible. I had the most intense dream I ever had in my life in 2001. Wow. It was about 2 weeks before September 11th. And call me crazy, call me what you want, but you can't call me not psychic because I had a premonition.
Can I call you collect?
Yes, you can.
All right.
But you'll have to pay for it.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to send you the bill. I had a dream that I believe was a premonition of September 11th terrorist attack. And you know, talk about real. Like, it was the most intense dream I've ever had, and I woke up shaking and, you know, hot, sweating, but it didn't go away for the entire day. You know, sometimes when you wake up out of a nightmare, you're like, ugh, and then eventually you forget about it.
Right.
This dream I couldn't forget about all day. And then the dream was I was in a city, and there were skyscrapers, and I didn't know what city it was. It was a nondescript city. And I was in the city with my mom, and we looked up, and there were planes flying into buildings, and the buildings were falling.
Crazy.
And my mom and I hid under an awning to stay protected from the crashing building. And I didn't remember dying or anything like that. It just, that was the most intense part, were the falling buildings and seeing the planes hitting the buildings. And in my dream, the planes were actually cartoons for some reason. Like, they almost looked like drawings of planes.
Right.
I think maybe to make it less harsh. And so then, like, 2 weeks later, September 11th happens, and I was away at college. It was my first year at college, and and I talked to my mom, and it was like everyone was freaking out, and she was like, "This is your dream."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, this was my dream," because I had told her about it.
Right.
And so that was the most intense dream I've ever had, and I'm telling you, there's no question in my mind that it was a premonition.
Right.
And since then, I've had a couple premonition dreams, but nothing as intense. You know, so I can't ever forget the visual of that, and I've had nightmares of airplanes ever since, and I have a really hard time flying because it was such a real dream.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Ever since then, you know, when I was in high school, I didn't really care about dreams. I didn't think about it. People always had like dream journals and stuff, but I wasn't really like that concerned until I had that dream, and ever since then, I haven't had a peaceful sleep. I have not, and it's been 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's a long time to not sleep peacefully.
It is, and I eventually start feeling a little bit tormented, and I like the show for that reason, because
you get it.
I get it, and it's almost like I feel like I can connect with something a little bit.
Sure.
So,
it's intense.
Yeah. It was really intense.
I always have really vivid dreams, super vivid, and often, like, they'll just stay with me all day, or I'll wake up mad at somebody, or, you know, and stay mad at them for like a week. Yeah. Silly. But I'm able to, not all the time, but often I'm able to dream lucidly. And lucid dreaming, for those of you who may not know, is when you're aware that you're dreaming. And if you get really good at it, you can sort of control what's going on, like who's there, what's going on, what you can, I don't know, summon creatures.
That's crazy. That's
start
crazy.
flying on purpose.
Good at it. Like, oh, I'm just practicing lucid dreaming. That's what I'm going to tell people when I'm sleeping.
Yeah. You're napping in the middle of the day. No. I have an agenda here.
Yes.
So one night I was dreaming lucidly, and I was like, I started to be aware that I was dreaming. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, let's start to make shit happen, you know? And so I was like, well, let's start flying. And I'm going to, like, fly over this lagoon. And I was like, I want to see some dinosaurs. And it was like, I was in the middle of, like, this really cool dream. And then I started to lose control of my flying. And I was like, all right, this is, like,
freaky,
going to be bad. And so I, like, landed into the lagoon. And I hit the water, like, hard. I woke up, and I was in this jacuzzi, like... And
it sounds
like, oh my God.
It was like spring break all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, really. But I woke up, and I was in the jacuzzi, and I was like, I can't believe I fell asleep in jacuzzi. Like, it's not good. My mom's talking to my grandma, and...
Oh, you were actually in a jacuzzi.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's part of the dream.
So,
okay.
No, because I woke up, like, I hit the water hard, and then, like, I had, like, splashed myself.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe I fell asleep here. This is bizarre. And it was, like, at a hotel, and so there were, like, other random people here. My mom's talking about, like, she needs to get a manicure, because I'd been, like, complaining about it for a week. So I'm, like, looking at my nails. I'm like, yeah, I do need to get a manicure. How did I end up here? And then I woke up again. And it was insane to me. I was like, did I just, like... I was so freaked out, because I was awake, I tell you. Awake.
Yeah,
like...
Yeah.
I just woke up from a dream.
Yeah.
I was 100% sure I was awake.
Right.
And then, like, I wasn't... convinced I was awake the second time, you know? So
I've never had that experience though. That's what I haven't experienced is
A dream within a dream?
Yeah, waking up. I've never woken up and then been still in a dream.
Right.
As far as I remember.
Yeah. Well, it was.
I'm aware I'm dreaming sometimes, but I don't. When I wake up out of it, I usually just wake up.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that's the thing is I was aware I was dreaming and then I wasn't, because I thought I'd really woken up. So that was kind of like, I know, Phil, you started to talk about Inception, how you're obsessed with it. Do you want to, because a dream within a dream is like.
Well, here's what I will say. It's a funny quote from 30 Minutes or Less. The reason I sleep so late is because I have a lot of dreams I want to accomplish.
Good. That's
so
good.
I thought that was a funny one.
That's good.
And as you guys are talking about dreams, in terms of movies, I think Inception is one of the big reasons why a show like this does work.
Right.
In terms of if I was to suggest anything, for the audience, I think a really cool one is
Waking Life.
Waking Life. That's it.
Yeah.
I was
We're right here, Phil. We're right here.
You had it.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of it. I had it before, but yeah, it's animated too, so it's really psychedelic in that regard, and it kind of follows this kid, Wiley Wiggins, through his dreams, and it, I guess, comes to kind of a conclusion, but not really. So worth checking out.
Worth checking out, and all the conversations that he had. It's really just like a series of conversations, and there were like all these life theories and a lot of psychology and communication theories. It's really good.
What is this called?
Waking Life.
And it's a TV show?
It's a movie.
Oh, it's a movie.
Yeah.
And I think I think a lot of those types of movies have paved the way for this TV show to be able to work. You know what I mean?
Was Big Fish a dream movie?
Big Fish, kind of, but not really.
I don't think so.
I thought it was.
It was Big Fish because he was just making up stories. No.
Oh, it was story.
So it's more like fantasy.
Yeah.
Rather than dreams.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Well, Phil, before you sign out of this conversation, Inception. Was he asleep the whole time?
I actually heard a pretty good theory about Inception. Because a producer that I talked to, he said when I first read the script, it was a lot more clear that he was in fact not. He in fact was real, but then the script, when it was actually shot, it made it much more like, well, which one is it?
Right.
And then the theory that I've heard is that the grandfather did this to him.
Did what to him?
Made him stay in a dream.
Oh.
Because he walks off so smirkly.
Right.
So.
Right.
Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a short answer. I apologize.
I have to watch that again because I made the mistake of only seeing it once.
Yeah.
So I really walked out, being just as confused as when I took my SATs. I just didn't get my head wrapped around it at all.
I know somebody who's like, oh, I didn't really like it. And he's like, so I turned it off. Like, he had 10 minutes left to watch in the movie. And he's like, so I turned it off. I'm like, are you kidding?
Wow.
Like, it's all about the last 10 minutes.
Right,
so,
right. Wow.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, who am I to judge?
And I think also, we were talking about this during the commercial break. For those of you listening, one of the things that we'll start to do is bring in more perspectives too. Because like Inception, what's really tough is we only watch the episodes once.
Right.
Here at AfterBuzz TV, and especially with a show like this, you really want to go back in and watch it like 3 times to get the full meaning.
Right.
And we're lucky that in many ways that we do only get the West Coast feed of this, so that way we'll kind of see what you guys are talking about and try to cheat it that way and bring in those perspectives into this show.
Right.
What's great about AfterBuzz, and what's maybe not so great at times, is we come on right after the show, like right after, like we watch it and we come in this room. So we're processing with you guys. So it's really cool, but at the same time with a show like this, it's like, I wish I had some more time to process what's been going on. So
that's right. And what we found very successful in other shows is, again, a show like this just garners more interaction. So tweet with these guys. I'm going to let them plug their Twitter handles. Email us at info@afterbuzztv.com. Tweet at afterbuzztv.com, and we also have the option to call in. So now that you guys know that we're able to do this live, just call in and talk with these guys. It's 424-256-1414. 1633 here in Studio B. But go ahead and plug your Twitters and then news and gossip.
Great. You can find me at Koppel for Mayor, KOPPEL FORMAYOR.
Eventually, that's going to turn into Koppel for President, I have a feeling.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Twitter at Kristen Carney, KRISTENCARNEY, and go to my blog, sweatthesmallstuffwithkristen.com, and leave comments and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't get tired of attention.
No, of course not.
Or validation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's more validation.
Yeah.
That we don't.
We actually dream about it.
Yeah.
All the time.
I'm not
gonna fall
sure.
asleep tonight, and people
Yeah.
are just going to be sending me comments.
Maybe
all
you're
day.
already asleep. Yeah.
This is as advantageous as I
Like,
get
to
for
the
my
news.
dreams. Yeah.
Get to the news.
And news.
All right, so couple of interviews. The first one is with Laura Allen. I got this out of TV Guide. Laura Allen, by the way, plays Hannah, the wife. And she talks about how Britain is connected to things in the house, and it's been suggested, I guess, at some point that maybe Rex's room is a portal, which like between the realities, and I actually never got that, but she says the real problem isn't geographical at all. Rather, Hannah refuses to acknowledge Britain's dream world because it's too painful. She says, I think the real crux of the problem in their relationship is there's kind of an unspoken rule that we don't talk about his dreams anymore. We can talk about Rex, but we can't talk about the dreams because anytime he mentions new information about Rex, it's almost a threat to her. In some ways, it's like he's saying, you don't really know him. So, I mean, that's true that they haven't really talked about Rex at all since the pilot. And she says it's not going to be the case forever because there's a big piece of new information that comes at us about Rex that Michael has access to. Michael is Britain. Michael has access to before I do.
Spoiler alert!
Oh my God, that
Spoiler
scared me. I really thought we were being attacked.
It's not okay, and it's a big challenge to get our heads around. Alan teases. You pull at these threads, and suddenly there are all these new things you've learned about the son that you thought you knew. It kind of keeps him alive in a new way, and yet it humbles her too because she thought she knew everything. So.
Was that not a spoiler alert? It sounded like a spoiler alert.
It was.
Yeah,
It was
I wanted to be more safe than
Just
sorry.
yeah, safe than sorry. I did jump my heart a little bit though.
Yeah.
So thanks for waking me up. Actually.
Yeah, I
out
thought
of
we
the
had
stream.
people after us. Oh. And so then there's another really wonderful interview with Jason Isaacs, who plays Michael Britton. It was in hobotrashcan.com, and it's called One-on-One with Jason Isaacs. Did I just say that? One-on-One with Jason Isaacs. I don't know. And it just came out this morning, March 29th, my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, baby Luke. So I thought this was interesting. They asked how he got into acting, and he said he didn't really know. He kind of drunkenly stumbled into an audition when he was 19. People were signing up for clubs and, chess club and cheese club, whatever they sign up for. And
You get thrown into Cheese Club.
yeah,
You don't sign up.
totally listen. And there was a sign on the door that said, "Can you do a northern accent?" And he said, and I quote, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what the fuck is that?
So
A northern accent.
I can do a northern accent, he
Like
said drunkenly to himself. And he said, so I did a northern accent, they cast me in a play, and I just got completely addicted to the process of rehearsing.
Cool.
And so he's been doing it ever since. And I don't know if you've seen Jason Isaacs' sort of pedigree, but he has been working consistently pretty much since I was born.
Wow.
So yeah, so he's great. You might know Jason Isaacs from Harry Potter.
Yes, Potterhead.
Voldemort. And what else? There's something else really cool that he said.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, you find that I just found that Awake, unfortunately, was down in ratings last week.
Why?
By 25% from the week before, despite facing no first-run drama competition. So that's not cool. But
No.
it was their official count was for last week 4.6 million viewers overall, which is not the worst in the world.
Right.
But it's not a leader by any means.
No.
So.
It's not the best news.
And there was an article a while ago that came out in like January before when they were speculating about the show and when it was going to come out, and they were really talking about, is Awake too smart to be good?
Ah.
is it too smart to gain an audience? I think a show that had that issue was the show on HBO with they were like, it was a Western. Oh. Deadwood. I think, Deadwood had a similar problem. So perhaps it's too sophisticated for people to follow.
Well,
It might take too
especially
much effort.
on network.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not an HBO show.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think
you network people who, yeah.
Do you think a show like this would work better on HBO or Showtime or something like that?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
We'll see. Time will tell. Guys, tell your friends to watch Awake because we like it. You like it. Got to stay on the air. So this was just the only other thing that I thought was really interesting. We've been speculating. There are forums of people speculating what's real, what isn't, and Jason Isaac says, "I love the fact that people are doing that. If that's what's engaging them, that's great. But for my character, the very last thing he wants to do is be forced into a realization that either of these worlds is a dream. He's not stupid. He knows that one of them is a dream, but the terror that would accompany, and in fact does at various stages in the series, accompany the knowledge or suspicion that one of these worlds is going to go away, is overwhelming." So I like that he, that's his character and that's where he stays.
Yeah.
So, I think that's it for news and gossip.
That's it.
That's it.
And now,
Predictions.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Would you like to start? Would you like me to start? So I think predictions here. It's almost hard not to be predicting the entire conversation, but I predict that they're not going to go to Oregon. I don't think they are going, but if they do, that it's just he's not giving up any reality. There's just no way. Then the lady who was on tonight, who was like an FBI agent, she was kind of a bitch.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. She quoted, "Britain's developed a pretty good knack for being at the right place at the right time since the accident." So I think there's going to be a lot more accusation, questioning, following him around, wondering if he is responsible for these murders that show up. So I don't think that they believe, or they think it's crazy that he has like these hunches, these dreams, that give him the answers to the. So I think there's going to be a lot more investigation of him to come.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you were walking around not knowing if you're awake or asleep, people are going to speculate a lot about you.
Sure.
Because clearly that means you're kooky, and what are you capable of if you're crazy?
Right.
And if you're working in a police department, you have access to
all kinds of stuff.
And you could do a lot of bad
weapons.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely they're going to keep a tight eye on him.
I think even because I suffer from insomnia from time to time, not all the time, but when I can't tell if I'm awake or asleep, in those times too, where it just feels the same. Yeah, I mean, I feel crazy. I feel like a crazy person.
Right.
Yeah. So, not that I would murder somebody, but I might.
But the option's always there.
Yeah, and I could blame it on exhaustion. Yeah.
Well, I think they are going to go to Oregon, at least for maybe one episode, to, I don't know, get some interest going, because if they have the same formula of like LA crime every episode,
right,
it could
get boring.
Get tired.
Yeah.
So I think they'll go to Oregon, but I don't think it will last long. I think it will be a blip in like the road, and then he'll be back to his old ways. But I think they'll use it this coming episode as like a new adventure in a way. And I think oh God, what's his name? Gemini. I think he's going to be gone soon. I don't think he's going to last very long, because he almost seems like I would imagine a figment of his imagination. And I feel like once he wants him out of his imagination, he'll be out of his imagination or his dream. And this is just because I didn't shave today, so I just wanted to mask
I love it. So that was nice. It was a nice catch. Yeah. Nice catch, Cleve.
Yeah. Jeremy Lin. This is what it is.
We've been having the exit music for some time, so I guess we'll be signing off here. Thank you for joining us this evening. You can download us on iTunes and YouTube. And Kristen, where can we find you?
You can find me in any public restroom.
Okay.
That's where I am normally. But again, check me out at sweatthesmallstuffwithkristen.com.
And you can tweet me at Koppel for Mayor. And vote for Maria. Dancing with the Stars. Monday nights. She's doing great. Doing great.
Yep.
And Homegirl's working hard despite having broken ribs. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
She's a hardcore chick.
Yeah, she is.
Anyway, buzz you later.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.